And hello, you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 5. Full spoilers for that episode. We had a big shift in antagonists at the end of this second act going into the third act. We had an antagonist level up, we had a bigger antagonist reveal, and we lost one to Eagles. Going to be diving into this episode, which really, I feel like, is setting us up for quite a huge third act climax as we dive deeper into this show. If you're new to this page, I cover comic books. I do lots and lots of comics. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and every week in a live stream, I break down my 9 favorite comics, as well as bringing you all of the comic book news of the week from everywhere, from Marvel, from DC, from Image, from all sorts of places. I also review lots and lots of movies and TV, both within the comic genre and outside of the comic genre, but from the lens of loving genre content. So if you love pop culture, if you love movies, TV, or comic books, please hit that subscription bell. Also, please like the video because it helps the algorithm. And most of all, let's have a conversation in the comments below. Let's talk about episodes 1 through 5. Let's talk particularly about this episode, and let's dive in right now. Peacemaker is doing a really interesting job with pacing. Each episode has had a key action set piece, has had lots of things going on, and if you think about it, there has been an insane amount covered. We've covered multiverse stuff, but we've done it more emotionally through line than in just like cameos and cacophony. We've had almost an action set piece physically, like a fight scene per episode, like you got a comic book going on. And we've also had this supernatural undercurrent with everything going on with our Michael Rooker Eagle guy, which really came to a head in this episode. And all of that while having this question of what is this other dimension? What is this pocket universe? What is this thing happening with the imps? What is going on with whatever this doorway to blank is? Because not only has the doorway given Chris everything he wants when he goes through it, but it's also been a lot of wish fulfillment in the way of escapism, and it's been made very clear that we don't know the details of it. We've talked about extraterrestrial elements. We've talked about his dad not being the one who built it and not even being able to one that really runs it. Like, he had his kids run it. He also didn't build as much of the things as was strongly implied. So a lot of questions about the actual fundamentals of this universe that I think we're going to discover going into the third act. Now, this episode in particular, I loved for the antagonist acceleration. We had Bordeaux be revealed to be a frickin' cyborg. We saw that she could have killed Peacemaker at any moment. We saw the intensity of that character really escalate. We saw one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite actors working, Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr., really establish who he is. He is a master tactician. There's a reason he's a general. He's got Amanda Waller level fourth dimensional chess going on. He basically manipulated everyone in the situation by knowing exactly what they would do in any given situation, but also playing Amelia Harcourt for that long, manipulating that system for that long, knowing that she would save Peacemaker, knowing that probably Economos would need to be the good guy in the situation and make sure that he got arrested, and also knowing what Peacemaker would do in that situation in the room, while also getting the freedom of getting beat the crap out of the guy that killed his son, but seeming like he was messier than he was and manipulating everything. I love a villain that's a master tactician. I love someone playing the long game. I love that Rick Flag really wants to completely own the situation and is doing so. And then we also got our antagonist that was mainly an Eagly antagonist, which obviously makes him a Peacemaker villain because, you know, that's his sidekick. But our Eagle Hunter is taken out after having like a total spiritual journey last episode, and then this episode, wielding the largest rifle I've ever seen in my life, is killed by a lot of eagles, strongly implying that the primal eagle is in fact Eagly, which is of no surprise. Lots of stuff with villains this episode, but I really love the way Rick Flag's journey is going. I love how he feels like he is a physical villain, but also a mental villain. Like, he's probably not quite a physical equal to Peacemaker, but he is able to manipulate things to keep him on an even keel, which is a great villain for this third act. I also really enjoyed this episode, how I was completely hoodwinked by the show in that Harcourt wasn't getting Peacemaker into the situation to benefit her job. She was not willing to sacrifice him for her job. The word copacetic, genius. I love that. That was such a great play, and then I love that he acknowledged it and then was able to... The scene of the park with him knowing how to avoid getting shot and playing that park like beat by beat was genius and hilarious. Like, that's the power of the show, action comedy. Like, you've got the action of how, you know, the tension builds and all the playfulness, but the comedy of like this giant dude dodging bullets by, you know, petting dogs and jumping in parks and like hiding behind kids playing soccer. All of that, fantastic. And I really liked that Harcourt is on our side. It's just, she is so gruff of an exterior. She's so willing to do whatever it takes. I bought it. I really thought she might be. And I thought it'd be a great way to show the dichotomy of this dream dimension versus the reality of the world that just doesn't always go your way, but she still has his back. She still cares about him. And I love that I don't feel like she knows how she feels about him at any given moment, especially with Rick Flag Jr. and especially that whole relationship. Opening up at the funeral was what a brutal opening to give us to this show, remembering the man and seeing him in his more formal self than the dream scenario of him as kind of an ignoramus in the Elseworld. Really strong stuff, top to bottom. I was really impressed with the Rick Flag Sr. reveal. I'm really enjoying Economos developing a spine, but still being a bit of a ninny. I really like Waller's daughter being kind of the heart of the show. Like, she really cares about Chris, like, as a guy. Like, she really is always there for him. I love the bestie relationship. There's a lot less vigilante this season than of memory of last season, but when he's sprinkled in there, I do feel like he absolutely serves the narrative. You know, the running joke of animal expert works more than it doesn't, but I also find the beats when you need a little levity, like his little one-liners and his just presence allows for that in a really wonderful way. And I'm sure in the third act, we're going to get a lot of vigilante. I don't think we've seen him suited up yet. He was the guy that was able to bring the doors for him. He's the guy that's been there whenever we need him. You know, Waller's daughter's still the heart, but I feel like third act, we're going to get a lot more vigilante. I thought it was going to happen a few episodes back if you've seen all my reviews, but I do think going into this third act, which I think is going to take place largely in this other dimension, especially with Judo Man over there. With Judo in that dimension, I'm really curious when that comes to be revealed. I love the iconography of pure comiciness of the three of them flying with Eagle in the very comic accurate costume, and that slow-mo hug with her looking like peak 80s like newswoman, all very idealized. I mean, I think we idolize certain eras of time personally and as a culture. I think culturally we look back nostalgically. I think individually a lot of people idealize the 50s or 60s for whatever reason, and I think the 80s is really strong for a lot of people. I look back, I was alive for like 15 months the 80s. I'm an 88 kid, end of 88. So I didn't really live the 80s, but I love the art of that era. I love the music. I love the movies. I would love to visit it if time travel is possible. But I do think a lot of people idolize and idealize the 80s. So it's really cool to see this potential alternate dimension / dream dimension use a lot of that in its music cues. 80s rock is, or glam rock has always been really strong in Peacemaker, but a lot of the music cues, the way that they have Harcourt looking, even the environments of Argus feeling like an old-timey newsroom, very interesting choices that make me think it's an idealized world and not even an authentic other dimension. So I'm curious how that payoff goes. I'm still betting on a Mixie-Plitilic type fifth dimensional imp situation. I'm still betting on it being an idealized world, not just an alternate world. I do think there is something to elevate it to his exact dream scenario that's coming. And I'm really curious how that pays off with the dad and the brother and all the things that we're going to get. I did notice, and I don't know if I just didn't clock it before, but in the first few episodes, I never noticed Rooker in the opening dance. And this week's, I noticed Rooker in the dance. I'm wondering if they're adding people into the dance as the characters get more established. I think Rooker was in the pile, but not in one of the dance scenes. Anyway, I'd love to know in the comments if you guys noticed Rooker, if there are other characters that have been added as the show has developed, because that was funny to me. I know that Tim Meadows was in the first episode dance, but he wasn't in the show until the second episode, if memory serves. He's also been a delight and a great addition too. I loved his conversation with Judo, and I think his type of comedy, that really dry comedy, that very like repeating the jokes in different ways, like the name joke, has worked overall for me, which has been a nice consistent. So yeah, digging it. I really liked this episode. I really think third act is going to be crazy. I like the blend of action, drama, and comedy. They're really doing a good job keeping the show feeling grounded. Like, it's a very contained feel, but then you look out and you're like, so much has happened. It's so big when you look at the actual elements of it. That feels like a comic in itself. It feels very issue by issue, which I'm really enjoying. So would love to know your thoughts on any of that and what you think is happening in episode 6. We got 6, 7, and 8 left. That is the third act, in my opinion. I think this is all going to be in this pocket dimension. I think it's all, not all, but I'm saying I think that's the next step, and I think it's going to really level things up. So I'd love to know your thoughts. We also got a kaiju A lot of kaiju stuff happened in the DCU to kick things off. So very curious how things escalate. Would love to hear your thoughts on this episode and your preview ideas, what you think is going to happen next episode. Do you think I'm crazy that it's a dream idealized world? Do you think I'm reading too much into things? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to this page if you're not already. Lots more to come. And press a like while you're pressing buttons. We'll see you next week for episode 6